The Dream vs Daquavis duel should have never been close at all. In fact, the outcome of this duel was already decided before they even entered the arena. However, before I explain, if you already don't know who I am, I'm Satire, a player who's directly dueled Dream himself and a content creator who's been a part of the modern 1.9 PvP community for almost 5 years now. In that time, I've spent thousands of hours PvPing and evaluating players' skill until I peaked at top 10 in the entire world at Axe PvP. The kit Dream and Technoblade dueled in, and now a kit Dream and Daquavis just finished dueling in. I'm in good contact with Dream's trainer Swite. I know so many facts that no one else does, and I'll be using these facts in order to analyze Minecraft's second best $100,000 duel, revealing what happened behind the scenes and explaining the hidden mechanics of why Dream won this duel and why it should have never been close to begin with. In order to understand why Dream won and why it should have never been close, we need to look back on any advantages they may have had over each other and analyze their main trainers in order to break down Dream and Daquavis' playstyle, as well as win conditions both players will be having going into this duel. Going into this duel, Daquavis has significantly more experience than Dream in PvP. He's been active on PvP servers a lot longer than Dream has, and is officially tested in Axe PvP at high tier 4, a solid tier for your first ever test, and what makes this even more impressive is he got this off of Cakewad, a strong high tier 3 Axe player who also happens to be best friends with Daquavis. Whether he's boosted or not is really up for speculation, but regardless, Daquavis has more experience in Dream and PvP. On the other hand, Dream has nerves. While fighting for $100,000 with your reputation on the line is intense, it's just another Tuesday for Dream, as it's on brand for Dream to play well under stressful situations. Not only has he experienced this duel before against Techno, but he has fought against several hunters on low HP, and even worse is an active Twitter user. Nerves of steel. So going into this duel, Daquavis has experience, but Dream has nerves. Remember this because it becomes really important later. As we all know, Dream was trained by Swite, the Minecraft combat master himself, who's not only ranked as the 3rd overall best PvPer in the world, but is currently the 2nd best Axe player in the world. At Axe PvP, Swite is known for a very aggressive playstyle, overwhelming his opponents with a relentless flurry of sword combos and perfect momentum break shield disables. The technique of closing the distance on your opponent's shield without receiving knockback when being hit. Knowing Swite in the community for many years now, I can confidently vouch that he is a phenomenal trainer for Dream, and with Dream's adaptability, sword combos and momentum breaks are a lethal combination once mastered. But will it be enough? Because in the other corner, Daquavis has much more experience in the PvP community. And on top of that, his trainer is a blacklisted player who was the former best Axe player in the entire world, and Swite's former rival. However, unlike Swite, this player was known for his super defensive playstyle, relying on baits, whittling the opponent's HP down by bow spamming, and perfect stuns, a shield disable that sends your opponent flying in the air, making it hard to counter and putting you in a very vulnerable position. Now that we've identified both Dream and Daquavis' trainer, it becomes very clear what their playstyle and win conditions will be in this duel. Dream will be relying on those momentum breaks to close the distance and rip Daquavis apart with his axe and sword. Daquavis, on the other hand, will be attempting to get distance and win by whittling Dream's health down and occasionally relying on those stuns to get the jump on Dream and win trades with punish crits, a way of doing damage from the knockback you receive by getting hit from your opponent. Now, what if I were to tell you that one player here is at a significant disadvantage? Both playstyles have their pros and cons, but one is just less optimal, and it's because of the server Dream and Daquavis will be dueling on. Now, I know that doesn't really make any sense, but allow me to explain. Normally on most public PvP servers, whenever you disable an opponent's shield, clicking them afterwards will send them up in the air. You can perform this by clicking twice really fast or using the double clicking technique on your mouse. This is called a stun. It's a core mechanic to Axe and Shield PvP. However, in the newest version of Minecraft, unless you actively turn this mechanic on in your server, it's automatically removed. When your shield is broken, it gives the player invincibility frames instead now. This turns an otherwise respectively balanced shield you can sometimes disable safely into an immovable objects you need to respect every single time. In this duel, we will see a very common pattern of essentially every grounded shield disable go punished, when some of the time it really shouldn't. What does this mean? It means that Dream, as the player who has the more aggressive playstyle, will be at a significant disadvantage. His primary aggro tool of stuns just won't work on the server, so if he wants a chance of taking home this win, he's going to have to rely on those momentum break shield disables in order to close the distance. So now with the stage finally being set, let the fight begin. Round 1. Daquavis starts this round off with a pre-bow, a highly advanced strategy that many people in the Axe PvP community like to call a move. Regardless, $100,000 is on the line, so I suppose I'll let it slide. Daquavis retreats around a pillar, perhaps trying to take notes from the legend himself. However, a couple of reckless shield disables later allowed Dream to get the lead through auto hits, a technique that involves spam clicking your mouse while shielding in order to automatically hit your opponent when they disable your shield. Now with a slight health lead, Dream finishes this round off with a beautiful backstab, getting around Daquavis' shield. Overall, besides Daquavis, who could have been less reckless around Dream's shield, and Dream doing whatever this was really well played by both players and a great way to start off the $100,000 duel. After a quick bow exchange to start the round, the health is even. Dream follows up by going for a shield disable, which is really what you shouldn't do when playing with stuns off. After another exchange, Dream gets the advantage for two reasons. Firstly, a beautiful sword main here that knocks Daquavis off balance, and while he does get punished for overextending, making their HP even, Dream follows it up with a perfectly executed momentum break shield disable, allowing him to sword crit and finish Daquavis off with a crossbow. 2-0. This round, Daquavis played really solid and the exchanges were relatively even. However, Dream's usage of the momentum break was just beautiful. This is a strategy I've seen time and time again take top players weeks to master, and I applaud Dream for being able to use the strategy so effectively only a few days after knowing of its existence. This time around, Daquavis decides to change things up by going on the offensive, and it mainly works due to one reason: stunning being disabled on the server, allowing Dream to not knock him away due to invincibility frames. Regardless, with this massive health lead, it allows this round to be sealed after this exchange. And to add insult to injury, Daquavis gets a beautiful punish crit here to further seal Dream's fate even more. Well played, Daquavis. 2-1. This round is really complicated, and both players here make several mistakes. Let me explain. Dream goes for another momentum break here. Remember, Dream's win condition is going to be winning those melee engagements with his sword main before Daquavis can whittle him down with his bow. This momentum break will allow him to accomplish one of two things he's looking for: either a free axe crit, giving him the health lead, or a good position to sword main. Dream gets the former, and Daquavis responds by missing a punish crit of his own. Mistake number 1. With invincibility frames after his shield being disabled, a sprint hit backstab could have not only allowed Daquavis to escape from this situation with a health lead, but also give him the distance he needs to control the battle with his bow spam. Regardless, Dream follows up with a clean backstab, and Daquavis gets a great punish crit. Now Dream makes a mistake here by attempting to stun Daquavis' shield. Players who get their shield disabled gain iframes, so you really need to respect the shield in this duel and not go for stuns. However, Daquavis does not capitalize as he accidentally fat fingers his crossbow to bow, probably due to stress and sealing his chances of winning this round as Dream gets a massive health lead. And unfortunately for Daquavis, Dream's PTSD just allows him to learn from his previous mistakes of allowing his opponents to escape behind pillars.
Flash of inspiration. I remember that in 227 BCE, King Zhang once escaped from his assassin by circling behind a pillar. I replicate this mid-fight and heal to full health.
Dream starts this round off by spacing, getting a beautiful sprint hit, and the health is relatively even throughout most of this entire round. Dream makes the mistake of not respecting the shield, however Daquavis decides to run right in front of Dream. This mistake blows his lead and could have easily been avoided by him running away instead of hyper-fixating on those damn pillars. Daquavis then makes another mistake of trading a crossbow shot for an axe hit, however the HP is even, as Dream still doesn't respect the shield. Daquavis could have easily run this round, however he misses a crucial punish crit, sealing his fate. But can you blame him? Compared to Dream, this is by far the biggest moment of his entire YouTube career. When you've been doing YouTube for only a year, and now all of a sudden you're put in front of millions of long-form viewers and a dedicated audience, instead of the brain-rotted iPad kids Daquavis is used to on shorts, it's gotta put a lot of pressure on someone.
You might be Dream, but I'm Nightmare. Oh, okay, don't put that in, please.
Don't put that in, please. It's hard to take serious in the moment with this ridiculous quote, but it does make me think about how Daquavis is feeling in the moment. If you don't believe me, looking back, he really does miss so many hits that cost him games, and after this last one, you can hear the frustration in his voice.
GG. That's a good combo.
At the end of the day, maybe you can have months of experience over your rival, and even a great plan. However, it all goes out the door the second you are not in the right headspace during the night that you need to perform at your best. With the kit being on match point, Daquavis tries to close the distance, wanting to go on the offensive again. They trade hits, however a reckless stun disable and crossbow shot gives Dream a roughly 2.5 heart lead early on. I don't know what Daquavis is trying to do here, but losing this match will lose him the set. He eats a free hit and loses this engagement once again. Dream disengages and shoots Daquavis in the head right before the final encounter. Dream goes for a backstab, which is a great play. Dream knows he has the health lead, and in this situation you want to force trades. At this point, I really don't know how Daquavis is still alive. alive. He's eaten so many hits and made several mistakes this round. However, Dream makes the final 2 mistakes of this duel. Firstly, recklessly disabling Daquavis' shield, giving Daquavis a free auto hit, and also giving him the space Daquavis' plan will rely on. The second mistake Dream made is that he really should have offhanded the crossbow when he knew Daquavis was a one-shot. Overall, considering this round was match point for Daquavis, he was playing far too recklessly and made way too many mistakes. The final round starts with Dream trading an auto hit for a crossbow. This is exactly what Daquavis wants, long drawn out fights where he can win trades on bow shots. However, while Dream gets a perfect momentum break, Daquavis positions himself perfectly to counter it. A punish crit and crossbow here would give him a massive health lead and the distance he needs to essentially seal this game. Daquavis knows this, and he needs this to win. However, snapping back to reality, not only does he miss his punish crit, but also his crossbow. He gets a weak bow shot in compensation, however, Dream crossbows him. He's now down 2.5 hearts in this interaction. However, despite being at a pretty bad health disparity, Daquavis somehow manages to position himself to come back in this single interaction. Daquavis' aim lets him down once again, as he misses the second punish crit to crossbow combo that could have won him this round. So Dream finishes off the axe duels the way he started it, by shooting Daquavis. In conclusion, both players played to their strengths, and I consider them both pretty good axe players. While not respecting the shield did cost Dream, not being able to aim costed Daquavis. However, if there's anything that explains why this duel should have never been close, it's how it ends. Fast forwarding to the end of their sword duel after several matches in modern PvP, where Dream's lack of experience in a complicated kit gets the better of him, and the previous sword duels where Daquavis shows off his experience in flashy combos, ultimately, it's Dream's consistency to land the hits that count that sealed him this duel. Daquavis misses not once, not twice, but 3 times in this final interaction. After watching this duel back, if I gotta be honest, no glaze, but for this last week, Dream has impressed me. He fought Daquavis at a disadvantage by not having stuns on. He went from somebody I'd consider pretty average at PvP to being pretty good, and he managed to bridge the months of PvP Daquavis had over him within a single week. All of this answers the statement of why Dream versus Daquavis should have never been close to begin with, and if a rematch ever happens, why it should never be. Thank you for watching.